Anyway, let's turn our attention to not just the leader of France, but the leader of this country, Keir Starmer. He's been doing his, 587th reset of his premiership with a New Year address to activists. He's in Berkshire. The live stream of his address, Labour Party members, was cut off within seconds. Usual chaos with Labour. And basically, we found out what he's saying. Basically, he says that 2026 is a year that we're going to be turning a corner where, when we say we want national renewal of the country, and we do, it becomes a reality, and people begin to feel the difference in their pockets and the ability to pay the bills. Well, let's talk about this and talk of a Brexit betrayal with my next guest, former Labour Special Advisor, Paul Richards. Good morning and Happy New Year to you, Paul.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you very much for joining us. Let's start with what Keir Starmer had to say today, because this reset is all about, apparently, it's about the cost of living, because everyone knows we're in a cost of living crisis still. Yeah, energy bills have come down, mortgage interest rates coming down, but people are still seeing, basically their pay packets are not going as far as they used to go. He's basically saying, wages are going up, although it's largely more in the public sector than in the private sector, and people will be seeing, things getting better over this year. Is that just pie in the sky nonsense?
I don't think it's nonsense. I think some people are starting to see some increases from very long decades of flatlining wages. I mean, the cost of living is obviously a massive issue, which is absolutely right that he should be talking about it amidst all of the big international stories. We do still have to focus on the bread and butter. I was knocking on doors in Eastbourne yesterday, and Venezuela came up exactly zero number of times. Fly tipping came up quite a lot. Potholes came up.
Bins, bins. You know me, I've got an obsession with bin, the bin collections.
Absolutely, it did come up actually, and so people are concerned, especially now post Christmas, with the bills, which is why he's talking about it. It's a shame that the live feed has gone down, of course, because we don't know what he's actually saying. I think a man with a tweed jacket and a cigarette was seen running from the scene with a pair of pliers. But anyway.
No, I honestly don't think Nigel Farage ever has to worry about Keir Starmer speaking. Every time Keir Starmer speaks, I think he just boosts reform in the polls. I was watching, come back from the Holes. Okay, I've got jet lag as an excuse, 7-hour time difference, but still, from where I've been, it took me 3 sittings to get through that Keir Starmer interview, Laura Kunsberg, because I kept dozing off because it's just so boring, and he's so unbelievably unconvincing on every topic. And this is the issue, isn't it? The public don't like him, they don't trust him, they want him gone, but they're just not really sure, same as a lot of Labour backbenchers, of who they get in return, because realistically it looks like Ed Miliband would be the alternative.
Well, that's exactly the point, isn't it? You have to be very careful what you wish for. And what the Tories taught us over all those years was that if you swap your leader and hope that suddenly everything's going to dramatically change and people will feel a difference, it doesn't work, and you don't necessarily get the candidate you wanted in the first place. I mean, for the Labour Party, of course, it's very hard to do this. The Tories could do it with great alacrity and regularity, but Labour has a constitution built in against this idea of swapping leaders all the time. So it's a hard thing to do. But Starmer's point is, I think, good one, which is that you need a grown-up in charge. He may not be the man that we would want to celebrate New Year's Eve with and pop champagne and go dancing with, but on the other hand, and I know it drives people up the pole too when he's sort of slow and deliberative and lawyerly and weighs up evidence. But I think in this mad world we need people like that do just look at what's going on and not just tweet from the hip, but actually look and see what's going on. So when he gives us interviews and it sounds a bit on the one hand and a bit on the other, I kind of welcome that. I think someone weighing up evidence and listening to what's going on, dialing into other world leaders, taking his time in a fast-moving situation, probably the right approach, isn't it?
Except I think most people interpret it as I do, which is actually him sitting on the fence and dithering and not really knowing. I interpret it not as, he's a really thoughtful man. I interpret it as someone who's A, boring as hell, and B, someone who has no drive, no vision, no philosophy of life. That's how I interpret it.
Well, and yet he got selected to be a member of Parliament and then elected as a member of Parliament, and then he got himself elected as the leader of the Labour Party, and then he became Prime Minister.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people would argue that he told lies. He told lies for certainly the last two. He sold himself as a man of the left of the Labour Party in 2020. He sold himself as a man sort of more on the right, and would, these are things he was going to get done to the country at large last year or the year before last.
They're all liars, but he somehow has managed to use his political skills to get to where he's got, which is the top job in our system, which many others have wanted and very few have ever got. So he's obviously doing something right.
Well, you say he's doing something right. He's not very good at. This is something he said. He put this in a tweet. I think it's similar to the words he used to Laura Kunzberg yesterday. He said, "We need to shoot down this idea that slogans, easy answers, quick fixes and shortcuts are what will fix this country." But actually, that's all he does. Smash the gangs. Well, he hasn't smashed the gangs. We've seen boat migrant numbers going up by a huge percentage under Labour. He thought that you could just have a nice chat with Macron and with the Ursula von der Leyen in Brussels, and then you could sort the problem out. Oh, what a surprise! You couldn't. He thought that as soon as Labour were in power, the civil servants would start doing what they were sodding well told to do by the elected representatives of the people. Turns out they're not doing that either. He's backtracked on virtually every major policy, like whether it's welfare reform, whether it's on changes to things like who could be eligible for winter fuel allowance. He's partly backtracked on farmers' inheritance tax. I mean, the man hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
Doesn't that make the point, though, that you can't just come in with slogans and say things and things happen overnight?
But that's exactly what he did.
So, for example, the trade deals, which he's citing today, he's talking about the world-class deals we've got with India, Europe, and the States. Now, those are slow burn things that will pay off over the rest of this Parliament, and people will see the benefits from. It's not a slogan. It's actually a hard negotiation that has led to boosts for British companies and jobs. But it won't happen tomorrow. It will happen over time. And the same with the policies like investing in the housing or the rail fares or whatever it is. These are things that we'll notice, but over time, because in real politics you can't do stuff overnight. And if you could, we would all be doing it, wouldn't we? If we could fix problems overnight, we would do it. So it is about hard yards.
But again, he's concerned about rail prices as he puts up a cost for people driving. I mean, most people don't get a train from one year to the next. This is so much a North London, middle-class man worrying about his concerns. I'm surprised he's not said we'll have a deduction on villas in Tuscany.
I think freezing the rail fares
for everyone.
Freezing, nothing wrong with that. Free. Do you know what I got for Christmas, by the way, Julia? From my kids was a tub of hummus.
You're kidding
me. So there you go.
Wow.
Talk about the cost of living crisis.
Wow, that is absolutely. But it was fancy hummus, though.
It was reasonably fancy. But anyway, for freezing the rail fares, a lot of people do commute on the train.
Most people don't. Most people don't get a train from one year to the next.
But if you have to do good, you do it by inches, don't you? And so this is another step forward that will help people. Okay. And
Right. Well, talking of helping people, will it help Keir Starmer if he does actually go ahead with what many fear will be a Brexit betrayal, basically taking us much closer to realignment with the single market, pretty much back in a customs union? He may not say he's doing it, but let's face it, all of the realignment, he's realigning, whether it's on agriculture, whether it's on food, on this rule and that rule, whether it's on energy, whether it's on net zero, basically gradually, sneakily taking us back into the European orbit. And we know what's going to come next. Well, we may as well just rejoin, shouldn't we?
Well, I think in this divided world where the rules order seems to be broken up and God knows what's happening with Taiwan and Colombia and God knows where else, I think closer cooperation with the EU is a good idea for the UK. Now, that's not the same as rejoining the EU or going full feet into the customs union, but I think just having greater trade, more alignment, getting our lawyers and architects being able to work in Europe, the Erasmus scheme, which means kids can go and study abroad. These things are just sensible for us so that we're not isolated. We're not alone.
We're not isolated. We had a scheme that replaced the Erasmus scheme, and British kids were able to go and study around the world rather than Europe. More of them wanted to study outside Europe than inside Europe. What does that tell you?
I think the Erasmus scheme is, I can't think anyone that's opposed to that idea. It's a perfectly sensible bit of
I'm absolutely opposed to subsidising middle-class kids getting a gap year.
Well, I don't think that's what it is. It's about...
I think that is what it is. I know people who've done it and they've done absolutely sod all work and we pay for it.
well, it should be better held to account then, shouldn't it? But the idea of young people studying abroad is a good thing.
No, but it's I see kids coming from Europe as well, and this is the thing. But this is the thing.
What's wrong with that? You'd have to be pretty ideologically opposed to anything European to stop kids studying.
No, they can't. Absolutely. I don't know why it needs to be subsidised by. And we know that the cost will end up being in the billions because we're on a starter cost. You know as well as I do, the EU are taking the mick out of us. They're charging us a fortune for anything to have more involvement because they know Keir Starmer is literally dribbling on his knees, desperate to get back in. And what's going to happen is eventually there'll be pressure from the Greens, the Lib Dems, and from Labour, and let's face it, large sections of the Conservative Party as well, saying we may as well rejoin. Now, do you think that we ever would rejoin, and could we do it without the mandate of an elected government saying in the manifesto we're going to have a vote and then actually another referendum?
Well, that to me is the only way it could happen. Is constitutionally. I don't see how you could do it in any other way. So if it's a real hypothetical. It's going to send everyone absolutely nuts, isn't it? But the idea that we rejoin the European Union could only happen, in my view, from a government, as you say, elected on a manifesto pledge to do so, and then a referendum of the people with a 1% victory in that.
Although 50.01% would be enough, wouldn't it, for the Remainers? Do you think
that's how it works? But it's not happening, is it? It's not happening.
I don't think it is happening. Do you think? Because I don't think any of that is going to happen. But do you think that the British people? We're told all the polls are saying that British people would rather we hadn't left, would vote to rejoin. I don't believe for a nanosecond the deal that we'd get, including having to take on the euro, we'd have to lose the pound. It would be an absolute requirement. We'd have to join the euro. Do you think in a month or Sundays the British people would vote for that?
Well, no, and that's why the argument about having closer alignment with the trading bloc that is the EU is the right one, because that just benefits British people without some of the things that they rejected at the referendum last time around. But to ignore Europe completely, and do ourselves is stupid.
All right, Paul, we'll have to leave it there. No one's talking about ignoring Europe. I'm just saying let's not align with everything they do because it's a fading economy. Paul Richards, former Labour Special Advisor, thank you very much, Steve, for that quick response from Sam Armstrong.
I think before we get all of our guests on air, we should ask them first, when was the last time you ate a tub of hummus?
No, fancy hummus.
Fancy hummus.
I've never been a big fan of hummus.
It's a good test, actually.
I love that. That is, as Christmas presents go, to be fair, I don't think... Did I even get a present from my kid at Christmas? I'm not sure I did.